Okay, we're going to be working on our Unit 4 homework here, which is covering the beginning parts of Chapter 7. We have some information that we learned basically from reading the book and going through the PowerPoint lecture, and some that we kind of picked up that we just got directly from Course Shell, and that's where our first exercise begins, and that is to create a new database named video. So the question becomes, how do I do that, right? So, well, first of all, you need to have your SQL Server Management Studio up and running, and go ahead and create a new query window to do that. Now, you could create a database really a number of different ways. So you guys should know, in a product like this, you can actually come up here and right-click on the database node and just say new database. You can do that, okay? And you can name it, and you can do all sorts of stuff with it. That's not what I want you to do, right? I know that you can do that, and I know that if you're using one of the other graphical products, you have that option as well. What I'm looking to make you do is basically just create the database using the SQL command. And we don't need to get really verbose like the examples that we saw listed in our unit folder here. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to type create database. And yeah, I'm doing all caps. I guess I'm kind of reverting to old habits here. And they want us to create a database called what? Video. Okay. So in its simplest form, we are going to create it just using this simple command. I'm not really worried about the size, the growth, the file name, any of that stuff. I'm going to let SQL Server handle that all automatically. I'm fine with wherever it decides to put it, whatever it decides to call it. Okay? So this is the command in a nutshell right here. That's all it takes to create a database. So go ahead and do that and then execute your query. Right? You can see command completed successfully. Let's make sure it actually worked. And you notice now when I expanded my database node here, how I now have a video database. So the answer to your first question is basically that. So bring up your document, paste in your command, and you're good. Anybody have a problem with that one? You're okay? Recording going here again. So now we're going to move on to the next exercise. And in that exercise, we need to create tables based on the following table instance charts below, which include the tables member, title, title copy, rental, and reservation. And if you come down here and take a look, they show you a bunch of information here to help you with your task. So notice that this is a multi-part question. So first we're going to do member, we're going to do title, title copy, rental, and reservation. Each one of these has a description here on what we need to do. So in other words, we're kind of reaping the benefit if somebody has already thought about this and how all the stuff forms together. But if you can think of let's say you were doing this as a project team or even solo, you would have to kind of go through the whole process of thinking about what the tables are, make a little chart or list or something for yourself, and that way you have a way to start building it. So we're going to take these one at a time, and let's start with this one here. So I'm going to kind of look at this chart here as I work, and what I'm going to do is maybe zoom out on that just a click or two. And I know on the video this might get a little bit small, so my intention isn't to hurt your eyes. My intention is to make life easier, really, by doing this side-by-side thing, so you can kind of see how I'm putting it together while I'm looking at the information at the same time. So I'm trying to be kind of mindful of that. All right, so I'm just going to start that query right here, and we know we're going to create a table, right? So that part's easy. So let's get in the create command. We'll just do create table, and what are we calling this? Member. It's a capital M, and then because we're going to be defining multiple things here, I'm going to put in my opening and closing parentheses, and a semicolon at the end. And then I'm indenting one line to start entering my stuff. All right, so I'm going to use that same format that we saw in the PowerPoint slides, and hopefully that will be helpful for you as well. So the first thing that I'm seeing here is, this is the information that we're working from. So for member ID, it's going to be the primary key. What does NN mean? Not null. It's not allowed to be empty. We're going to have what's the data type? It's numeric. And what's the length? We determined it to be 10. So here's how I'm going to start doing that command. I'm going to begin by just typing in that, basically the same name that's here in the column header, member ID, spelled out just like this. I'm going to tab over, and then I'm just going to call it numeric as a data type. The other thing I'm going to do is, well, they specified how big, so I'm going to add behind it the fact that it's going to only be 10 characters in size. Additionally, this is going to be, now they do this in all caps, usually. I'll do it in all caps for right now. I'm kind of out of that habit, frankly, though. This is going to be a primary key field, and it is going to be not null. And then I'm going to put in a comma to go to the next line. I'm kind of zoomed in here, so I'm going to zoom out a click or two just so you can see my formatting. I did tab from here to here, and then I tabbed from here to here. This is a smaller space, but there is a tab stop in there. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go down this list here, so I'm going to start adding these one at a time. So next one is last name. Oops, I got my caps lock on here, so let's do it like that. This one was going to be a varchar. And we talked about this while the video was paused about the type of characters that can go in here. So numbers, letters, spaces, and some special characters. And then once again, we're going to set this to not null. Person has to have a last name in the system. And if your name happens to be a one-word thing like Prince, I guess that's your last name, because that's not allowed to be null. We also are going to put in first name here. Let me go back a tab stop. This one will be the same size, so I'm just going to copy and paste it. And we're going to allow this one to be null, so I'm not going to say anything about it. We'll just do that. From there, we're going to go to address. And it seems like a varchar would work again. In this case, we're going to increase that. What's reasonable for an address? Well, I'm going to say it depends. In some cases, people will allow like apartment and suite numbers and things like that, so you got to kind of leave some space. Some people will opt to have two different fields, address 1 and address 2. I'm just opting for one because that's what I have here, and that was what was decided there as well. City is next. That one looks like it was preset to 30 down here. So I'm going to go with 30, put in a comma. I don't see that they have a state, so they must know what state everybody's in, I guess. Hopefully it's not a state of confusion. Bad joke. Nobody laughed. That's okay. Just put in a phone number field. Once again, so why does a phone number get a varchar and not a number? Dashes and parentheses sometimes, right? You don't know how people are going to enter their phone number, so it just makes it flexible.
Why is address blue?
Because it's one of those words that can be used in a couple of different ways.
Okay.
That's why. So it can be mistaken for a keyword, is really what it is. Good question, though. And then the last field that we have here looks like it's join date. So let's put that one in. And we're going to put that in the format of a date field. And we're not going to allow that one to be null either. So you got to have a date in there. Now, based on the information that I have here, I've set my not nulls. I have my primary key. I've set all the data types and the lengths. So I think I'm okay. You guys think this query looks okay? Anything I should do differently? No, I think we're fine. Let's go ahead now that we have this set up and let's execute it. And notice the command's completed successfully. I can now go over to here and I can take a look at my tables, hopefully. Maybe I have to refresh. And mine's still not refreshed. Okay. Should I be worried that it didn't work? No, I know from experience that sometimes it takes a little while for stuff to pop in. Can anybody think of a functional reason why it might not work? Well, that's a possibility, right? Yeah, who knows where the hell it ended up? That's really the answer, right? So here I am. I'm going to start looking now at my tables, because really I should see a listing of tables like this, right? So now I'm looking under all of my databases to see where the member table ended up, and I might get into the situation where maybe it ended up with AdventureWorks. It's kind of my guess here.
Click in the white space over like in the query area. Oh, it's on master.
Yeah. So here's what I have to do, folks. Just to make sure. Yeah, we got to get a use statement in there. Use what? What's the database we're working on? Yeah. And now once I issue the command once, I should be okay.
If it's there, it'll tell you that
Yeah.
it's
All right. Let's execute that again. Said it worked. Yeah, I went someplace else and I don't even want to know where. But I'm going to do a refresh here, and now I'm hoping. There we go. There's our table. So let that be a valuable lesson to you. All right. I'm going to copy this command here, and then I'm going to paste it into this command area here. So this is the procedure for working, folks. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. This is the title table, so let's get to work on that one. I'm just going to build on top of what I have here, so I'm going to get rid of what I have, and then I'm going to change this to title. Notice I'm using the use statement to make sure it doesn't go to the wrong place again. And once again, we have some pre-configured information here, so I'm just going to start building that a little piece by piece. I'm going to start with title ID. Oops, ID, not IS. I'm going to tab over, and once again, I'm going to put in a numeric value, and I'm going to choose 10 characters. Why? Because that's what it says in the chart. And then this one is also indicated as being a primary key. I see that right here. So I'm going to say primary key, and as a result, it cannot be null. So we have to say not null. And I did this lowercase this time on purpose to show you it still works. All right, move on to the next field, which is title. This will be a varchar. And they want us to set it to 60 characters and not allow null. So we're going to say not null. Next, we have description. So can I do lowercase here for varchar? Sure, why not? This is going to allow up to 400 characters, and there's no designation. Well, actually, they do say not null, so we have to add that as well. Let me say not null. If you're worried about your stuff looking really neat, I guess you can match up your columns if that makes you feel better. Okay? It's not, the white space is irrelevant. You guys should know that. Next is rating. And that's a varchar also. And we're going to make that, it says 4 characters in length. Then we'll do category. And that's going to be 20 characters. Oops. Paren, then comma. And then finally, the release date, which is going to be a date field. And that's all we need to have. Do I need to put in another comma here, or can I omit the last comma? You can omit it. Will it break anything if I put it in? It won't hurt it at all. So if I decided to leave a comma in there, it's not going to break anything. My advice is not put it in. All right, so this is the code that I have. I'm going to go ahead and execute this. Says it worked. Now I have my use statement, so at least it should have gone to the right place. Let's see if we have a new table here. I try to be patient, folks, with these refreshes because I know sometimes it takes a little while before it actually shows. So if it doesn't come up the first refresh, don't be fooled into thinking it didn't work at all. All right, I'm going to grab my code here and paste it in. So it should look something like that for you guys. All right, let's go to the next table. This one's called title copy. This one looks pretty easy. So copy ID, title ID, and status. That's all we have here. So I'm just going to come up here, change this to title copy. I'm going to get rid of, well, you know what? I'm also noticing, wait, this has a title ID, and I already have a title ID, right? That's numeric and all that. Is there anything else in here that I can keep? Nope. But I can keep at least one of those so I don't have to recreate it. Now I can pretty much guess it's not going to be a primary key in a different table, but I am noticing that it says not null and unique, right? So I can address that by just simply saying unique and not null. Now I know that I have to put in a field for copy ID. I know that this one will be numeric just like this one, 10 characters, so we'll just copy that. And then I also know that this is a primary key because it tells me so right over here. So I'm going to type in primary key and not no, and a comma. One last column to build, and this one will be the status column. This will be a varchar, and we'll make that 15. And this one also should be not null, right? It says right there, not null. All right. If you have all that typed in, go ahead and hit execute. Let me go ahead and do that. Once again, I'm going to hit a refresh here. And there is our table. I'm going to copy this code and drop it into item C here. Okay, we're making good progress. Let's move on to the next table, which is called rental. So we know right away that we are going to change this at the very least. And then I'm going to start thinking about what it is that I have here that I might be able to potentially regurgitate. Well, here we go with title ID again is present, right? And copy ID is also present. So two of the fields I already have typed up, I can just leave alone. None of the other stuff applies, but I have, 2 out of 6. So I'm 1/3 done is kind of the way that I'm looking at it. And then I'm making a little bit of space. So I have 2 before copy ID, and then I'll have 2 before title ID, and then that looks like it'll be about it. So now I just have to fill in the blanks. So the first one is going to be book date, and then member ID, and then I guess that's active return date or something like that. And expiring return date, I'm just guessing at what they mean by this. All right, so you see how I just put all the field names in first? You can do it like that too. Let's go to the first one then, and that's just a date field. Okay, now hold on a second here. Copy ID cannot be our primary key because book date is our primary key. So I'm actually going to copy this whole statement here, or portion of the statement, and paste that in. And then here, I'm going to remove the primary key and copy ID. We're just going to say not null. The other thing I'm noticing is that title ID should just be not null. Also, uniqueness is not relevant. Moving on to member ID, I see that that one should be not null, and that it should also be a numeric 10. So actually I could have copied this whole segment here, like so. Okay, copy ID is okay, and then I guess that's active return date. All we need for that one is to call it a date type, no other special qualifications, and the same thing for the next one. Once again, no special qualifications. All right, so we're creating the table rental. We have 6 columns. We got 6 columns. Seems like all our information is matching the table. Let's go ahead and execute. Looks like it worked. Once again, let's do a refresh over here on the left side, and then take a look at our tables to see that the table indeed was created, and it looks okay. I'm going to take my code and paste it in, and hopefully you have something that looks similar to that. All right, I'm going to move on to the next one, and just remember, those of you that are watching the video, you can always pause this. You can always rewind, and you can do this other thing, especially if you're watching it on YouTube, which is you can slow the speed down so you don't have to go quite as fast as I'm going. The beauty of video, that's for sure. All right, so the next one is going to be our reservation table. So I'm just going to come up here, once again, change the name. All right, and then once again, I'm looking for commonalities here. I see member ID and I see title ID. These are 2 fields that I already have, and I just have to add one other. So the member ID I have and the title ID. So I'm just deleting both of those. Does either one of those need alterations? The data types are correct. Both need to be not null, but this one here also needs to be unique. And that is the member ID. So I'm going to add here in front of it, unique. Then I'll look at this last field and it says reserve date. I assume that's what that stands for. So I'm just going to change this to RES. And that's going to be a date data type. That is the primary key and not null. My work is already done, I think, according to that chart at least. So I'm going to go ahead and execute this. Looks like it worked. Let's do a refresh. Let's take a look for the table. And reservation is there. Okay. I'm going to grab this code and drop it back into the document. We're all set. So the next thing that they want us to do is to verify that all the tables were created correctly. Now you can do that a number of different ways. And right here in the document, the attempt is to show you how, right? So you could do one of two things. You could create the diagrams like you do automatically, and that's not a bad approach. So you could just right click, do the properties, and then get all the tables, and they all list out like this, and you just screen capture each one and drop it in. So that's one way you could do it. The other thing that you can do is you could run this query command here, and it will basically allow you to drop in the name of the object and then give you an output. So let me just demonstrate. In fact, here's what I'll do. Let me just get rid of this. So I'm just going to execute, and then let's pick the name of a table here. So let's do member, for example, and a semicolon. And then if you choose to run that, okay, it gives you quite a bit of information, but you notice it can get pretty darn verbose. So I'm kind of expanding it a little bit, but the attempt here is to show you that all the information that you need is basically right there. So I would probably, like if you're going to screenshot this, I would probably expand it a little bit. And this would show you, in essence, what you need. So you could screenshot that. In fact, you could just screenshot the top table and that would be enough to show me it. Or you could see why maybe the entity relationship diagram is maybe a little bit cleaner. So it's kind of up to you. It's just a matter of how much busy work you want in doing it. I think they're both equivalently about the same amount of work. When you have it all done, if you did the entity relationship diagram approach, you would end up with something that looks like this, hopefully. So this is what your output should look like, real similar to that. Or if you use this approach, like I said, you could probably screenshot this portion of it. That's, I guess, the other thing here is this information at the bottom actually is pretty helpful. Because it does show the primary key stuff pretty clearly, I think. So I guess I would probably screenshot the whole thing for each table. Can you see why this approach might be a little cleaner? I think you can see it. Then you get the little key right there to show the key field right up here. Right. Now I know that there's more stuff to do here, right? Or have we actually finished the homework? We actually finished the homework, folks. I'm impressed. So it didn't even take us all that long. Yeah, 2 minutes to spare. All right, that actually completes the exercise. I'll try to get this video posted as soon as possible, and we will move on to the next unit. So if you guys are ready to move on, do the next, go to the next unit folder, read through the readings, and get ready for the next batch of homework. This video ends here.